Welcome, everyone, to today's show. Boomer and a Gen Xer walk into a bar. Coming to you from the Rabbit Hole Studio, where you, as our listeners, will experience some wit and wisdom, some smart-assery, primarily from Bobby, and a mother and a daughter questioning, are we even related? My name is Jane, my co-host is my daughter Bobby, and for the next, I don't know how many minutes it's going to take because Bobby and I can't even come to grips on one thing right now. We're going to entertain you. How are you there, Bob?
Well, apparently I'm seeing bugs and not hitting the actual fly that's flying around.
What are you talking about? You're seeing bugs?
I don't know. I thought there was a bug. I got this push pin wall next to me on my side of the studio. You have one too, but for some reason, I thought there was a bug on one of my push pins. And I was like, look, there's a bug on my push pin. And you're like, that's a marker. You idiot.
Yeah.
And,
how much?
But there's an actual fly flying around that we're trying to kill.
So if you hear our hands smack, it's because somebody, or we smacked Dr. Domain in the head.
What's this? You smacked.
Okay. Well, anyway, I don't know what y'all drinking down there, but you got flies flying all over the place and bugs on push pins. Who would notice that there's a bug on a push pin?
Well, when you're looking for a fly and you see something that looks like a bug.
There's a fly in my soup.
Waiter, there's a fly in my soup.
He won't eat much. So I just want to mention that we did a previous podcast on cryptids, and we had asked people about the Van Meter, Iowa what's he called? The Van Meter, Iowa visitor. And we got so many responses that I will tell you, I don't need any more responses, folks. There's a festival in September, and Bobby and I are going to set up our booth there, and we're going to talk to the locals and see what the folklore is all about and see if anybody's got any real pictures that we can look at. And I understand there's been other podcasts. And Bobby, did you tell me there was a documentary done on this?
Yeah, there's actually a couple of documentaries that have actually gone down and walked the path and, the streets and tried to find the old mine that he was buried in.
Place.
Yeah, everything like that. Yep.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to cruise to town like that, but we are going to talk to people. And I think
I may.
Okay, you may. I may
get lost
on your little moped or whatever.
In my Lamborghinis.
Yeah. Anyway, so thank you all for responding. We appreciate it. We got enough information now, and I think we're going to be moving on. But today, you know what I want to talk about? Because I'm seeing so much of this, not only on TV and the news. And, we've been dealing with protesters for a long time now. And it's like, I don't know. I get angry about stuff and I get disgusted about politics and things like that, but I'm nobody's political pawn. So you know what? I go on with my life. Some people are having a difficult time doing that. And it is truly a psychological disorder, folks. Those of you who are, getting that angry that you want to hurt somebody or hurt somebody's property, that is a disorder, and y'all need to go talk to somebody. And I'm not talking about somebody in your line there.
Wait. You mean I thought you were at the Boston Tea Party? You mean to tell me you were chucking tea into Boston Harbor with the rest of them?
I would have been chucking tea, but you know what? I wasn't hurting anybody.
But you were destroying property of the British government.
Well, okay, it wasn't my government.
Shame, but it was at the time.
Well, okay, there's that. But first of all, I resemble the remark.
Taxes.
I resemble the remark that you made about me being at the Boston Tea Party.
But I wasn't. Hey, I mean, then it's true. Protests have been since the beginning of time, and it has been, over lots of different things.
Absolutely.
And it had, everything from peaceful to demonstrative to property destroying to violent to downright absolute, completely raising the ground that you stand on protests.
I don't disagree with you on that, and I am all for a peaceful protest. Is that counter to protest? A protest?
A protest where you just go around taking photos. God.
I don't know. But anyway, I am all for peaceful protests. I am all for listening to somebody perception on something or, whatever. But when you spit hate and venom and you're yelling and you're trying to hurt somebody and, that's what your job is, you're really not going to convince anybody to turn the other way. And if you really want people to, hear you, it's called sitting down and talking about it and being reasonable and looking at the facts and not just what you hear on the internet or on the evening news, because they're all a bunch of freaking liars anyway. But, it's a little bit more than that. But where am I heading with this?
I was going to say,
Domain?
we've already done one with a protest. So
I know. Here's where I'm heading with
where,
it.
Where are we going with this?
Here's where I'm going with that is the complete disrespect for authority right now. The complete disrespect for not only authority as in police officers, government officials. And I don't really care about Senate congressmen. But, even the parents, don't get the respect. But it's all in what you raise and how you, bring your kids up and what you accept and what you don't accept. But I do want to talk a little bit about the disrespect of authority. And you mentioned it to me earlier, Bobby, before we were on the air. I think it really went way south during the time period of George Floyd, don't you?
Well, I mean, if you're talking like the public perception of authority, I would say yes. I personally believe that it was before that it went way south. And I believe that it was not in the public perception. I believe it was in the home. Like you said, I believe it started in the home with the parents, not raising their kids with the respect of authority. Not only the parents' authority, but the authority of the school, the authority of, generally in neighborhoods and communities, the authority figures and things like that. But yeah, when it comes to the wider perspective of authority, I think that it all began to crumble for this time period, this generation with the George Floyd death.
And I can hear some of our listeners right now. I can hear their thoughts because I can forecast the future. I can hear them saying, I'm not just going to lay down and let things happen. I'm not going to, stick up for my rights. No one is asking you not to stick up for your rights. But there's a difference between chaos and setting boundaries. And when you get chaotic and you get defensive and you get very agitated and you come out swinging at somebody or destroying somebody's property, that's a little bit different than setting your boundaries and saying, hey, listen, I'm going to stand up for this. And, I have friends who I do not agree with. I mean, I do not agree with them on several topics, but you know what? We're adults and we can talk about things and we can walk away friends. I mean, Bobby, you and I don't agree.
Nope.
And so, but we're adults, for crying out loud. And we do have different opinions, but I do want to go back to the disrespect that you see a lot of police officers and now firefighters. There's people who are, going after not only police officers, but ICE. And listen, I understand that you may have a position related to what's going on in the government. I get it. I have a position too, but I am not going to attack a police officer. I'm not going to attack an ICE agent. I'm not going to tell them I'm going to shoot their family or hunt them down or anything like that. You know why? Because you need to move on with your life, folks. Because whatever happens is going to happen, and you're yelling all of that hatred is not going to change anything. But when we talk about, the lack of or the disrespect that we're seeing towards authority right now, it's police officers, it is firefighters, it's school teachers, it's parents, it's, somebody who's serving you in a restaurant. I mean, don't you ever experience that?
Well, I don't think they really have any authority serving me I guess they could tell me get the hell out. But yeah.
Okay, then let's talk about on an airplane. You know what? When you buy a ticket, that's that company saying, I'll give you a ride.
Yeah.
No different than you showing up with your car in their driveway and saying, I'll give you a ride for $100 to go to whatever town it is. And they get crappy in your car.
And you tell them, get out.
Get out. You know
I would
why?
hope they wouldn't tell me to get out of the freaking airplane halfway through the ride.
No, but I have the right to tell you to get out of my car. They have the right to tell you to get off of that airplane before they
or
leave.
They have the right to tell you you're going to follow these rules.
Right.
Yeah.
And people get so disrespectful to not only the stewards that are on the planes, but when I say servers, you know, you walk into a restaurant, you think you can yell and scream at the people who are serving you. And don't get me wrong, I don't put up with bad customer service. I do not. I don't like somebody to be, mouthy to me. I don't like them to be short with me. If I'm there to pay for a meal, let's do this, in a nice way. But if you're losing your crap because somebody didn't give you a large French fry, I think that's problematic.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of that, when it comes to like the service industries and things like that, I think a lot of that is a learned response. So I do believe a lot of that begins with who they are, modeling themselves after from a young age.
Give me an example.
Well, in the home. Let's say that they look up to their mom or dad.
Right.
And they constantly see their mom or dad berating people who serve them.
Or each other.
Whether it be a food service worker or a gas station clerk or the other parent who is cooking them a meal.
Right.
If they are constantly seeing that beratement as a normality in their lives, they are going to reflect that, and they're going to expect that is how the world works, and that's how they're expected to act.
And we talked a little bit about this in our bullying podcast. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And, one of the things that people don't realize is bullying starts at home, folks.
Yeah.
It starts at home.
I'd say for 99% of it. Yeah.
And when your kids see you bully the neighbor, or bully a server, or bully anybody else, and you're going, I don't bully anybody. Really? Let's think about it. Let's think about what bullying really is. It's demeaning, it's degrading, it's debasing somebody else, and sometimes threatening. Come on, you probably have. And they see that. And, the disrespect, I think, is really a complex issue that's really kind of driven, I'll say, by a cycle of eroded trust, don't you think? Because people don't trust the police officers anymore.
Right.
People don't trust, the firefighters. They don't trust ICE. They don't trust the government. Now, listen, I'm not saying on the government you don't have
right.
a right to distrust. What I'm saying is you can distrust without being combative. You don't have to be combative about it. And what's happening is we're seeing a shift in our social values. People are saying that they're building boundaries when really they're not. They're being bullies and they're being outspoken more than they should be. They're being loud and obnoxious and argumentative and combative. And, there is a heavy demand that's placed on law enforcement because of that change in those shifting social values.
Well, and a lot of it's a learned response. So it's either an instinct developed because, an early authority figure like a parent or a caregiver used their own power over that person, either inconsistently or abusively, or it's learned in a way that it is ingrained in them through social cues. And what I mean by that is I will use an example, and it's going to be a hypothetical example. So hypothetically,
is this going to be about me?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, crap.
Hypothetically, you have a child who is growing up constantly inundated with information around her that says you are of one type. Okay, so it says let's take the authority out and let's say sexuality, because that'll piss a lot of people off. Let's say sexuality. So you have a daughter who's grown up around an archetype in society that says it's okay to be gay, and it's okay to be gay, whatever, you don't need to know my stance on that. It's okay to be gay. It's okay to be trans. You should be gay. You should be trans.
Big difference.
You should be a part of the alphabet mafia. You should be exploring your sexuality. You should be knowing that at the age of 5 what your sexuality is. You should be following those avenues at every turn from a very early age, regardless of how your parents feel or how your church feels or how your family feels about this or how you think you might feel in 5 years. You should be taking these roads constantly wherever they turn. And once you follow that road, you should be consistent in that road. You should be part of that quote unquote mafia and fight every day for those other people who are also on that road, even if it's not your road. You should be immediately defensive against people who say, but you're only 5. You were only 5 when you thought this. Haven't your feelings changed? Mm-hmm. Even though maybe your feelings did change, you should be defensive against that. You should immediately become defensive and violent and maybe even scared of the people who question this, because how could they ever have your well-being in their own minds when all they can do is question you of what you should be. Now, take that and put it into authority.
Yeah.
And these children are inundated with it every single damn day.
And you hit the nail right on the head with one, and all of that is correct. I mean, all of it. Sometimes it's just a matter of a few words, how you present it and how these kids are receiving it. And, it is fear.
It is.
It's fear. We are a society of fear mongers. And whether it's, political, whether it's how you should dress, see the word should
be, yeah,
how they want you to dress, how they want you
and
to
God
look.
forbid your opinion should change. God forbid that you should change any kind of thinking, like, okay, I didn't like authority figures because I had a really, really bad interaction with a cop that overstepped his bounds and he hurt me and he didn't have any reason to, and he was in the wrong. Well, guess what? In 5 years, I've met really good cops and they didn't hurt me and they didn't overstep their bounds and they were there for me when I needed them. And when you go forward and you evolve because you have new facts and you have new information, that's not okay anymore for some reason. It's not okay for society to evolve once they have new information.
But it is, and that's not what you're saying. You're saying this is what
society is saying is that it's not okay to evolve anymore when you have new interactions, new information, and it's not your feelings any longer. That's what I was trying to get at with, the whole story is once you evolve, once you have new feelings, new interactions, new scientific evidence of what you feel and what you know and what is the truth, it's not okay to come forward with that. You need to shut up and sit down and follow the line. And if you don't, all of a sudden you're part of the problem.
Yeah. And you made the comment about a situation. And it's unfortunate that people will place their lifetime opinion or perception on one situation. And this.
And it's generational.
I have a saying that I say all the time, and it is,
Excuse me.
One mistake does not a loser make.
Right.
And one small incident does not a bad person make.
Right.
You stole a candy bar in a store when you were a kid, or let's say that you got picked up for a little bit of marijuana. It doesn't make you a horrible person the rest of your life.
Right.
And what's happening on the other side is that, let's say that you've got like you said, a cop or a teacher or your parent that you disagreed with on one or two situations. You're going to have hundreds of thousands of situations in your lifetime. Stop basing it on one or two situations that you may or may not have even been involved with. And, I'm going to go back to not only Rodney King or not only George Floyd, but even Rodney King. And Rodney King's was a really bad situation. And there's no question about that. But we don't set our whole life on the fact that we had a few bad cops, right?
Right.
We've got a lot of good cops. And people will go, no, we don't. We don't have any. Really? Well, you're the same people that the minute somebody says something to you that you disagree with, you go, let's call the cops. Let's call 911.
The minute they give you 8 chicken nuggets instead of 10, you're in the drive-thru calling the cops
911.
because,
And so all we're saying is, there is a different perspective on this stuff. And, I think many feel authorities overstepped their bounds, and some of them did. Come on, some did. But a lot of them didn't, and they're just trying to do their job. But it did lead to concerns over, police brutality, systemic bias, and, the lack of procedural justice. But on the other hand, think about the good things that they've done for the communities, because they really do protect you. And another thing on the police perspective is that, officers often view disrespect as a threat to public safety and order. And once they feel threatened, guess what? You're kind of screwed because you don't threaten a cop.
Right.
And they're there to help, not to hurt. They're there to help, not to hurt. Now, some of them are assholes. But you know what? A lot of times you're an asshole too.
Yeah. And they deal with people at the
all
worst,
different ranges.
Well, and so most times they deal with people at the worst moment in their life. They're not rolling up on people because they called 911 because they're having a great day.
Right. That's exactly right. I don't call them for that.
That's not what they're called for.
But, also with, misconduct and accountability, which is what you were talking about, there's incidents of, excessive force in some situations. And,
right.
And there is some corruption. Name me a place where there isn't corruption. I mean, school districts, government, CPA's office.
Gas stations, there's corruption.
Yeah. And we understand that there's a decline, but you don't have to be a part of it. That's the whole thing. You don't have to be a part of it. I think about all these people who are carrying around all this anger towards authority figures. And you know what? I'll tell you the same thing I would tell you about a gunman. Stay away from them. Don't go near them. What do you need to be in that environment for? Well, I have every right. I'm not saying you don't have a right. I'm saying, why would you put yourself in that situation anyway? And I know that Yale University did a research on this, and it indicated that the perception of fairness dictates public compliance. Just the perception.
The perception, not even the actual statistical fairness.
Not just even that
if they perceive it.
And
as fair.
That newscasters use the same words that you used as your examples earlier.
Yeah.
And they tell people how they should feel.
Yes.
And I don't need you to tell me. I'm intelligent. Okay, halfway. Okay, let's not argue. But
don't tell me what to do.
Now, the point is, if you're intelligent, and I think most people are, if you're intelligent, you can come to your own conclusions. I don't need a newscaster. I don't need a neighbor. I don't need some violent idiot out on a line somewhere screaming and damaging somebody's car or standing in the way of traffic or yelling at people or, hitting them with signs or whatever. I don't need you to tell me that stuff. I can figure it out. I'm an intelligent person.
Well, yeah. And here's my thing, though. You can be on both sides. You can absolutely support law enforcement, let's say. You can absolutely support law enforcement. You can support the good guys, and you can still be against police overreach and excessive use of force.
Absolutely.
You absolutely can. And from previous podcasts, I am I'm for protest. I absolutely am.
I am too. Peaceful.
Because it has been with us since the beginning. You know, this government was founded on protest. You know that, and I know that. And Thurgood Marshall knew that. And it's embedded in not only us as humans, but you know, it's embedded in this entire country. Do I always agree with violent protests? No, I don't. And I know you're glaring at me from over there because
your eyes are closed. Why are your eyes closed? Look me in the eye here, Bobby.
I don't agree with people getting hurt. I don't agree with things like that. But sometimes for the government to listen, you need to open their ears.
No, I'm just going to shut you down right there, because if you want the government to listen, then elect the right people into the Senate and the House and the Congress. You know what? You're electing the wrong people, and you're letting them roll back in, and you're letting them have a career of that, and they don't give a rat's ass about you. And here you are fighting about all of this stuff that they don't know your names. They don't give a shit. Come on, and yet here you are fighting about it.
Listen.
You're voting them in. Vote them out.
The grasshoppers didn't listen until the ants rose against them. Okay. And I know you don't know what that means, but every Gen Xer
How do you know
does.
I don't know what that means?
What's it from?
I don't know.
A Bug's
Life?
A Bug's Life, the movie.
Okay.
The ants had to physically rise against the grasshoppers.
I do remember that,
because they outnumbered them 100-1.
That's true, but you don't have to do it with violence, Bobby. You can do it by voting them in and voting them out. Why do we have 92-year-old senators sitting in a seat? Why do we have 87-year-old Congress?
About that.
Yeah,
we did.
I mean, come on, folks. You know, if you want to create change, create change.
But why are we talking about their age? Why not talk about their competency?
Both.
Dr. Domain. I see
Domain is pointing.
Swivel around.
His finger just went in my face, and he's like agreeing with you, Bobby. Go ahead,
I think
Doc.
that's just a major theme of yours is ageism. You're a big ageist.
It isn't ageism.
It is. Why'd you call it the age of those individuals?
And not the competency.
Okay, then let me back up. Okay. They've been in office for 62 years. They've been in office for 62 years. Okay, they don't have
Maybe
any.
They're good at it.
No, No, that's proven. Okay, let's not even joke about that. They're not good at it. And when you've been in office that long, what happens? You become numb to the problems. They're not your problems. It's whatever's popular today on the internet, and that's what they focus on.
So, were you a better...
Shut up, Bobby.
Were you a better employee further into your career than when you first started?
Let me tell you what I told you here about 2 weeks ago. I said every employee should leave their job before they're disgruntled. Every employee should.
I should have quit 2 weeks ago.
I think once you become really, really competent in your job,
she's going to do the knife hands pretty soon. You better watch out.
I think once you become very, very competent in your job, and that's wonderful that you do. If you get to the point where you're bored and you're not really making a difference, that's time for you to go, and you should go before you're disgruntled, because nobody is looking. There is no market out there for a disgruntled employee.
All righty then.
I'm just saying.
And that goes for authority figures, too.
It is for authority figures.
Before you put your foot in somebody's ass.
I think you're missing the point, though.
Okay, what am I missing?
We have a process in place.
I said that.
Oh, and vote the people out.
That's what... How many times I've said that?
There you go.
Did I, Bobby? Come on. Quit looking at him like you're going to take his side, because you know darn well
He's just rage baiting you at this point. I think it's hilarious.
I will come down there. I will come down. Okay, that's it. Bobby, I think that's all I have. I got to go.
The authority figure in this booth has just said that is literally all the insanity that we have for today. But hey, listen, we appreciate you joining us here at the Rabbit Hole Studio.
Before we go, Bob, what was our point? Really, what was our point today? Our point today was there are processes in place. If you don't want these people in office, then get them out of office by voting them out of office.
I thought it was mistrust and distrust and authority.
Yeah, I was listening to another podcast, I guess.
Too. We're going right back to the government. Oh, Lord. Please send her an email at boomerandgenxer@gmail.com and just tell her how much you love her, because I think we're losing her to the old Alzheimer's. But hey, if you have hate mail, well, you know where you can put that. So until next week, I'm Bobby Joy, and she's silent. And you're stuck with us.
Peace out.
Later.